Breaking right now, Venezuela's so-called Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, you see her there in the pink jacket, receiving a warm welcome in Moscow tonight. Ms. Rodriguez says her country will continue to rely on supplies of food and medicine from Russia. Okay, so let's just get this straight. Venezuela, she says, will take supplies. She's relying on the supplies of food and medicine from Russia. And yet at the same time, her socialist regime is denying any kind of humanitarian crisis, saying it does not exist in Venezuela. In fact, she told me it was all fake news when I suggested that 90% of the population was living in poverty. She said, no, Trish, you should come see for itself. That's fake news. Everything's just great. Well, if everything's just great, why are you taking the aid from Russia? Joining me right now, Hudson Institute Senior Fellow Rebecca Heinrichs. Good to see you, Rebecca. What do we do now? All right, because we're in a situation where Juan Guaido, the guy that we recognize and the whole free world recognizes as the president of that country, is not recognized by his own country. I mean, maybe he is by the people itself, but in terms of actually being able to move right into Miraflores Palace and be recognized by the actual military, he doesn't have that down. How does this change? How does this, how do we transition to a Guaido that can call for an election, a free election?
Well, American leadership is necessary, and thankfully the United States is exercising leadership here. Over 50 other countries are recognizing Guaido as the legitimate president, interim president of Venezuela. And that means that Maduro is a wrongful dictator who's occupying Venezuela. And the Russians still obviously recognize Maduro as the legitimate president. So they're recognizing an illegitimate man who's occupying the state. And I find it really interesting, Trish, you mentioned in the last segment the congresswoman who recognizes Maduro and doesn't recognize the United States position. She is supporting Russian propaganda by saying that this aid from the United States is sort of a precursor to a military invention. That's what the Russians are saying, and it's lies. The only people who are being provocative and aggressive here are the Russians themselves. The United States supports a peaceful transition of power.
Well, I mean, they don't want a transition of power. Maduro certainly doesn't. Delcy Rodriguez certainly doesn't. And by the way, the Russians don't either, because they got a good, sweet deal going on, right? And the minute, they don't have that deal anymore, they're going to be kind of upset. And I think in a new government, with actual democracy there, it's going to be a much more competitive landscape, and they're not going to get the same kind of deals that they once had. They also won't be able to maybe hang out in an area so close to the United States of America. It's strategic for that reason. But Rebecca, again, like how does this move forward? Because Juan Guaido is kind of in this holding pattern right now. He's going around Latin America. He's trying to get the support of all these different countries. But I was just down at the Lima Group meeting in Bogota, Colombia on Monday, and they basically expressed an unwillingness to use any kind of force. If you're not going to use force, what do you use to actually change this equation?
Well, you have to dry out all of access to funds from Maduro and his henchmen, which the United States is working on doing, and you continue to put the economic squeeze on these people. You continue to put pressure on Russia. You know, Russia talks about how it wants to get aid to them. They just blocked a UN resolution that would provide aid to the Venezuelan people, so they're trying to weaponize this aid to prop up Maduro. But time is not on the Russian side. It's not on Maduro's side. And, I think that the president is right, the American position is right, to offer Maduro this out. If you want to retire, you want to survive this, you want your family to be safe, here's a peaceful exit, and let the Venezuelan people who have spoken and want to be a sovereign and prosperous nation in the backyard of the United States, this is the way to go, and this is your only option. So I really do think time is running out for Maduro.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If I were him, I'd take the deal. Problem is, the Cubans may kill him before he gets the opportunity to do that, because don't forget, the Cubans have a big say in all of this and effectively are running that country right now. Rebecca Heinrichs, it's very good to see you. Thank you. We'll talk to you some more on this story.